All right, Charlie Summers joining us in studio here on this Sunday. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
We appreciate your insight on this. You bring a broad range of experience to this role, which you've been in for several years now. Yeah. I imagine that you're probably hearing from your membership with what's going on in Iran over the last month. What are the concerns that they're sharing with you at this moment?
Well, it's just, it's the uncertainty of the situation. My members, as we were talking before we went on camera, they have product that they deliver directly to people's homes. They order that product far in advance. And as we get into the April-May timeframe, they're looking at ordering the product for the next year. So when they see the fluctuation in prices and the questions about the supply chain, that's obviously something that's in the forefront of their mind and all of our minds.
And what are the energy sources that are most prone to that volatility and those disruptions?
Well, I think what we're seeing in the reporting every day is the fossil fuels, the liquid fuels that Maine, is many people hear all the time. We are very reliant on liquid fuels, on heating oil, on propane, on kerosene. And when the supply chain is in question and you see those fluctuations, the uncertainty in the market, that's what people talk about to me every single day.
Looking ahead to the summer, a lot of people on the road. You don't have a crystal ball, and I imagine that's probably a big point of frustration in this role, is everybody wants the answers, right, of what does the outlook look like. What is your analysis of what this summer is going to be like for all of us, Ben, to fill up the tank?
Yeah, it's tough to prognosticate. I mean, we can see what's happening. Oil, or I should say gasoline prices are reached over $4 a gallon. You're seeing a lot of fluctuation across the United States. In the Midwest, it's lower than it is in the Northeast. I think it'd be a little bit irresponsible of me to try to predict where this is going to be. You see the volatility in the market. I think that with the rapidly changing environment, it's really tough to say. But I think if you look at the gas prices as you drive down the road today, you can see what's happened, and you'll probably see those fluctuations, for the next several months.
How important is the Strait of Hormuz, particularly when it comes to the supply chain that eventually is going to reach us here?
Well, you've got 20% of the world's oil supply comes through the Strait of Hormuz. Fortunately, the United States is a net oil exporter. We need to work to find more sources of oil, and I think really, Terry, one thing I wanted to point out. What we're seeing today really kind of argues for or buttresses the point that the Maine Energy Marketers Association has been making for the last 6 years, is that we need to make sure that we have a broad-based approach to our energy needs. In fact, we worked very hard over the last 2 or 3 years to get a bill enacted into law to preserve energy choice so that Mainers can choose how they heat their homes and businesses, whether they want to use wood, whether they want to use heating oil, whether they want to use heat pumps. We want to make sure that we have a broad-based approach, because one thing that they teach you in the military, we were talking about the time that I spent in the military, is you never want to leave yourself with a single point of failure. And I think as an example, the push towards total electrification that we've seen over the last several years, while it may sound appealing on the front, when a energy supply is disrupted, and remember, Maine gets the bulk of its electricity by fossil fuel being generated to create that electricity. When you see over-reliance on one source, then you find yourself in the situation like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now that that's gone?
I want to ask you about your military experience. You served in Iraq. You know the region. You understand the sacrifice that our service members face here. But broadly speaking, what do you think of this conflict, and what concerns you most when you see that there are your colleagues, your brothers and sisters in uniform?
Sure. Well, as we were talking when we were off camera, you want to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful. I know that there are very divergent opinions on the war, on the president, things like that. But we have to focus on the mission at hand, and that's exactly what's happening. Whether you're talking about the sailors from the 5th Fleet, where I served in Bahrain, spent time there, those men and women are highly trained, highly professional, and we need to support them. We need to support them and their families, because it's not just the sailor or the airman or the Marine or the soldier or the member of the Coast Guard that serves, it's their family that serves, and it's that support structure. And that's, I think, one of the keys to the strength of our military, because everyone's in this, and we need to make sure that they have what they need, whether it's in terms of equipment and weapons, or the everyday necessities of life. We need to make sure that they have that, and they will do the job. They will make sure, and they'll make us proud.
Do you care to offer your opinion whether you think that there should be American troops on the ground?
Oh, no, I don't want to get into that. I think that's for the Commander-in-Chief and,
Sure.
and the men and women that are there. But we need, I will say, we need to support them.
Shifting back to consumer advice, as we head into the summer, so many families planning road trips, and I think a lot of households on a budget, they're thinking about next winter too,
Sure.
and heating their homes. What advice would you offer to the consumer so that they're best suited for this unpredictability and the volatility that we could see?
Well, we always encourage people, if they are able to enter into a purchase contract with their, or a stable pricing contract with their fuel retailer, they should do that. Many of the retailers offer that, and if they can take advantage of locking in a price, I would do that. I think that's important. I think also that if there are those who are having difficulty meeting their energy costs, they want to talk to their supplier and let them know that they'd like to get on a budget plan. Almost all of the suppliers offer budget plans. I think that's important, and I also think that it's important that we communicate with our federal legislative delegation to fully fund LIHEAP so that those who need that assistance, that money is there. And I know that Senator Collins and Senator King and everyone else in the delegation have worked very hard on that front.
All right, Charlie Summers, thank you so much for coming in.
It's
great to talk to you.
Nice seeing you.